Hi, and we're live. That had a bit of a false start then. I went to go live and it was offline. Hello, everyone. I can see people coming in already. Brilliant stuff. And welcome to our latest webinar. So this webinar is going to be about creating engaging reports. So creating reports that your readers want to read and get excited about receiving. For those of you that have been on a few of our webinars already, it's a slightly different format. So unfortunately, you'll hear a bit more of me at the beginning than you normally do. And I'll be doing a bit more of the session about how to find a story in a report, where you might want to look, what you might want to include. And during that, I'll be mentioning some features within CoverageBook that will make it a bit easier and that you can use to help create this story. And rather than jump between a presentation and a demo, what I'm going to do is pass over to David afterwards, and he will demonstrate all the features that I've mentioned throughout the report. So you've got a mix of theory matched with actual how to apply this within your CoverageBook account. So hopefully it will match up and make sense at the end. As everyone's coming in, I'll do a bit more of an intro into ourselves. My name's Laura, and I head up the customer success team over at, here at CoverageBook. And this is David, who heads up customer support.
Hi, everyone.
And we also, as always, we've got the lovely Will, who is manning the chat room. So because of that, feel free to ask questions as you go along. If it's easily replied through via the chat, we'll reply as we go through. And if it needs more of a demo, we can pull it through and do it at the end. I will send both the slides and the video to everybody as after this recording. And apart from that, I think we'll try and keep it under about half an hour. This is probably our longest one, so our practices have gone a couple minutes over, but I'll try and talk quicker. Before we go through, I just want to check the chat is working, because I haven't seen anyone say hi. I can see lots of people have come in, but normally we have lots of hellos by now. Is anyone there to say hi? Check we're there. Maybe you're a quiet bunch today. Hey, hello. Yay, lots of people are coming through. It's
Hi,
like,
everyone.
oh, flood down. Everyone's open. Brilliant. I was suddenly worried we had a technical hitch. Oh, wow. Hi. I can't say hi to all of you. We're coming really quickly. Thank you very much. We're all good. Right. So without further ado, then I will start going through the presentation. Brilliant. So, yeah, as I said, we're going to be talking about reporting. Making your reports really engaging. So over the next half an hour, we'll cover how to tell a good story. I'll be banging on about the importance of context and background information. I'll be talking a lot about the end readers and what you might want to consider. So it's end readers, not necessarily just your end reader. And then a bit about how to find insights in your coverage and how you can sort of pull little stories through. And then, like I said, I'll throw over to David, and he can show you the features within CoverageBook, how you can display and create these stories just to make your life a bit easier. So hopefully we've got a nice mix of theory and actually putting in action. Anyone who has spoken to me in the past knows I get quite passionate about PR reporting. I must be in the right job role, really, after that. So, and the reason why is because I've worked in PR, I think, since I was about 16 now. And I know that the report is the part where it's the most easily forgotten. If you're in an agency, you're often overserviced, you're running out of time, you haven't put enough budget towards it. But if you're going to overservice at any point, I would say it's adding the extra touches to your report, because it's the way that if you are an agency, you're going to keep the client, they're going to understand the work you've done, and then you're more likely to grow it. But if you're in-house, again, it's just showcasing to everybody what you've done, why you've done it, and the impact it's had. So I would say, I know everyone is super busy, but the reporting is the bit where if you're going to oversurface any, it's probably this part. And this will hopefully highlight it for you. So 5 pieces of coverage. 5 pieces of coverage, I think on its own doesn't sound that great. However, if I then said to you 5 pieces of coverage, but the target was 1, quite good actually. 5 pieces of coverage and one was shared 3,000 times. You're like, you start to listen, don't you? You're like, actually, it's quite good. What would really get you if you could say 5 pieces of coverage, which led to 1,000% increase in sales. Obviously, very hard to prove, but it just shows as you start to weave a story in, 5 pieces of coverage can look at both ends of the sales scales. Not great, but also fantastic. So part of this is like how to weave a story through your report so that people can pick up your report and go, 5 pieces of coverage, that was great. So yeah, I said I was going to bang on about the readers. I think it's very important to understand who is going to read your report. And by that, I don't necessarily mean the first person. I think often when I see reports go over, you can see that they know the initial reader and you know what targets and what will impress them, and you can put their numbers to the top. But what is important to keep in mind is where the report might go after that. So somebody who doesn't have the context of what you've been doing, why you've been doing it, what's good, what's bad, can pick it up. It could be a CEO, VP, and they go, oh, this agency's been doing this. They got 5 pieces of coverage. That doesn't sound great. Do we really need to keep them? And you just don't want people to pick up a report without the full story and the full context and a full understanding of what you've been doing and why. And this is why I'm quite passionate about sort of using custom slides within CoverageBook to add that context in. And so what I've been talking about is then using your report to create more of a story. So most of you are probably within PR and marketing. Brilliant storytellers. That's how you get brand media to cover brands rather than paying for adverts. So, let's have a start, a middle, and an end. And it's a good way to view a story within a report as well, I think. So let's start at the start. So at the very start, let's give some background. So what was your starting point? What was the end goal? And what was your plan to get there? So you can do this within custom slides within CoverageBook. And the reason for doing this is twofold. So firstly, it's for you. It's a big reminder of what your starting point was and what was the goal, because there's so many goals you can be looking at. There's so many things, like an increase in sales as a blanket is actually quite a hard thing to prove that it was necessarily you. Oh, there was an advertising campaign. But if you can get quite specific about your end goal, you'll be getting a bit more specific about what other insights you want to pull from your report. But also, like you're saying about the other readers, it gives more context. So if you were a brand and your starting point was, you do know what, we don't do well with a younger audience. We just want to do a bit of an experiment and see if we can resonate with a younger audience. So then you might say, okay, for that, what we're going to do is we are going to do an influencer campaign on Instagram and see how it goes down and see what the feedback is. And the spin-off of that is that you also got the 5 pieces of coverage. If you didn't have all of this context in your report and someone picks up your report and says, hang on, we don't resonate with young people. Why are we paying the PR agency to spend loads of money to use influencers? What are they doing? They don't understand our brand. But actually, if you have the background at the beginning of your report, everyone's starting from the same point and understanding where you're getting to. So it's good to do that when you're trying to find the story, and then you can work out where you're going. Next up, and again, it might be obvious to you, but what activity drove this coverage? So yeah, you've been living and breathing it, and so might your first contact, but does everybody else know what you've been doing? And I think with a lot of PR campaigns, this is a really good way to make your report really engaging. You can overlay your you can showcase your campaign by just a few custom slides, just a few really big images, which then pulls your report from being just numbers to like, this is what we're going to do. Bam, how cool and creative is this, before you get into the nitty gritty. And again, part of that is just about trying to get your reader really interested and engaged. And it's just a bit more interesting if you can throw in some big images to show the activity that you've been doing. Then we're going to get to the nitty gritty of your report. So the middle chunk. At CoverageBook, we give you over 50 metrics that you can pull into or choose, well, depending on what coverage you put in. And I really would say definitely don't use all of them, and don't use all the same ones all the same time. So this is when you're going back to looking at your goals. What were your goals? Which metrics will be useful to pull in and which ones not? And as part of that, I would I'd encourage you to have a look at your CSV. So once all your coverage is in your report, download a CSV and have a look through it. You'll be able to see any standout pieces of coverage. So at the beginning, when I said one piece had 1,000 shares, you can see if any pieces have more shares, comments, likes, or anything than any others. Why do they? Was there a particular story, or was it a particular influencer you were working with? Was there an angle, or was there a team that generates more coverage than the other? What can you learn from that? Are there any that didn't do that well that you could be like, actually, we won't use them in the future? And I think the CSV is where you'll really find a lot of the insights about what coverage does well and what doesn't. Your report readers, you can choose for them to be able to download a CSV, and many do, but the ones that do tend to be in the data and analytics team, and they're pulling it through. But I encourage you to do it as part of finding the story, because a lot of people won't. And I think it's often your job to be able to say, actually, no, I've done the deep delve, and this is what needs to stand out. So definitely have a look at the CSV. It's one of my faves. But I'd encourage you not to stop there. So we can use custom metrics to add even more metrics to your report. So in an ideal world, you'll go to your client or the sales team and you'll say, oh, over this time period, what were the sales? And it increases exactly during the time period of your coverage. In the real world, though, however, I know that's not the case. There's lots of different campaigns going on. There's lead times. There's lots of other things that can get in the way. But it's always good to ask the questions and speak to the analytics teams. You know, was there an increase in traffic? But was there an increase in traffic to the landing page that you created as part of the campaign? Was there an increase in brochure downloads or trials? Just ask what questions you can and see what data seems to be relevant for you. I know this bit's really hard, but it's always worth asking, and then every now and then you'll get the nugget. But you can also add in other reports as well. So what other reports do you have access to that might be relevant for this? And rather than send them alongside your reports, so your reader has to open 4 reports in a row, you can add them within your coverage report using custom slides. So one example would be Google Trends. So Google Trends, anyone can access, and is one of my favorites. So what this does is you can type in a search term and you can see how this changed over time. So I've searched a brand that I used to work on. Unfortunately, I can't claim this as what I did, but you can see that this brand, the search volume was quite low for their brand term. And then something happened around November, January. There was a massive peak of interest, loads of people typing their brand into the internet. And then the volume was much higher. And then after that, it leveled out, but it leveled up higher than it was. So therefore, you can assume that they actually increased the brand awareness long term, like as well as a big peak of that campaign. So this is a really good graph that you might want to then put within your report. Say, this is where we led up the campaign, or we did this aspect of this campaign here. We should do more of this and less of something else. So you might think you've gathered all your data and that's it, that's the end, but it's not quite the end. Some of the best reports that I've seen and the ones that people actually want to receive then have more actionable insights. They're not just that we did that. So once you've got everything, then start asking yourself, so what now? So therefore we should use these influencers more, we should use these influencers less. Whatever made that peak in that graph you saw before, we should do that again. But actually we should remove budget from another place which didn't have a peak. And you'll find that people find your report so much more useful if you have, like, we've taken this is what we found, and now therefore we propose this, because it makes your report therefore even more useful. The problem you might have now is now you have about 30 stories to tell. And it brings us back to sort of data puke again. You don't want to tell all the stories, put all the data in it, and then people find it hard to follow. It's a bit of a job then to remove lots of things and just tell the stories that are going to be key to your audience or key to what you're trying to say. But what you can do, if you find that you do have lots of stories that you want to tell and to lots of different people, you can then make multiple reports, or for different teams. So you might want to have one for the marketing team, one for the sales team. That might sound like a lot of work, but actually we can use templates within CoverageBook just to copy the report you've got and then chop and change the data points that you need to highlight to tell the story that's most useful for them. And David will show you how to do this in a second. So I've given you hopefully a good overall theory of how to get stories, but I always find it's quite useful if you actually have, okay, so how does this work in the tool that I use? So David's going to take over from me in a second, and he's going to sort of build on what I've said, but within the tool. So I've spoken a lot about metrics and how you choose and order them. And so he's going to show you actually how to order them within CoverageBook, how to add custom metrics, both at a coverage level and an overview. So you can start to say, actually, we can add these custom metrics in. He'll show you how you can bring design and storytelling to your report. So he's going to showcase slide builder and custom pages and sections. And that's how you can really get creative with your report and make it visually appealing. The last bit that I mentioned about creating reports for different audiences, he's going to show you how to use the templates. They're pretty simple once you know where they are, and he'll also quickly go through CSV downloads, which is what I'd encourage you to try and find, those sorts of hidden gems. So David, I shall pass over to you if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Laura. That was great.
No problem.
Hey everyone, let me just share my screen. There we go. So hopefully you can now see my CoverageBook account. Yeah, as Laura mentioned, there are lots of different ways that you can tell a story using your CoverageBook reports, and we're going to have a look at some of those today. You may recognize some of the coverage in this particular report. It's actually from my own Instagram account, and just for a bit of fun today, we are going to do a look at a CoverageBook report from my two pets, Bob and Willow, my cat and my dog. So yeah, just a bit of fun there. So first of all, let's have a look at the metrics summary. So how you can tell a story using numbers. And in the overview page, you can access the summary by clicking directly onto the image here, or you can click on the menu down on the left to access your metrics summary page. Now, because I've got just 10 pieces of coverage and they're all from Instagram, there's not many metrics that will show by default. But you can choose to show as many or as few metrics as you like, and you can also reorganize them to showcase the best metrics for your audience. So the first thing we're going to look at is how you can actually choose different metrics cards. And you will see in the top left, there is a choose metrics button. And at the bottom of this page, there's also an add or remove metrics from your summary option. And if you click on either of those, it will open up all of the different types of coverage cards that you can use to describe your numbers. So it means that you can really tailor the metrics to your audience. So as this is a purely social biased report, I'm going to change number of pieces of coverage, and we're going to actually show that as Instagram posts. So I've got 10 Instagram posts. If you have things like print, broadcast, some online coverage as well, you can actually pick out individual numbers to show the totals for those coverage items. And you can keep going through all of these. So each category has lots of different options for you. So for example, in coverage views, I can actually select the number of social views that we've had for the coverage in this report. And again, moving down to engagements, you will see lots of different things. So for example, you might have something like YouTube likes or views or Twitter likes, etc. So you can actually pick out those numbers separately if they're important to your report readers. But we're going to switch this one over to Instagram likes. So 80 likes for all of the pieces in this report. And then finally for audiences, we're also going to do the same thing and just switch this up to Instagram. So we're purely focusing on all of the social posts in my report. You'll notice at the bottom that there are two sections for your custom metrics and your custom summary cards, and we'll talk about those after this. Okay, so now that I've tailored my cards specifically for Instagram, I can actually move these cards around to really showcase the numbers that I want to show. So for example, I'm not really interested in how many pieces of coverage I've got, but I do want to show how many people have viewed my coverage. So I'm going to put estimated social views first and foremost. And I'm also going to drag up how many Instagram likes my coverage has had. So I really want to focus on views and engagements as the key numbers. You can do this with your reports as well. So just drag and drop these cards around and you can organize them in any way that you like. Now, in addition to CoverageBook's automated metrics, you can also add as much of your own data as you like. And the first thing we're going to look at is custom metrics. So if I dive into a section of coverage, and we're going to go to Bob's coverage. So what we're actually going to do is you can use custom metrics in a lot of ways to pick out any other kind of metrics that you want to measure. You can also use it for things like sentiment or for counting mentions. So that could be brand or product mentions or spokespeople, for example. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. So if I click into this piece of coverage, that's Bob looking rather malevolently at Willow across the sofa. If you go across to the right-hand side, you'll see that there's an add custom metric option. And if I click into here, this opens up the custom metric menu. If you've already got some metrics populated in your list, they will show here, and you can just choose from all of your pre-populated ones. But we're just going to add a new one today, and we're going to call this one just Bob's Mentions. You can give it a description as well if you want to, and you can also choose to show it as a sum total or an average. I'm going to leave this as a sum. So once all, no, I do need to fill in this page. All right, there we go. Number of mentions for Bob. There we go. Okay, so now I can give this a value of 1. So essentially, I'm just counting how many times. And we can also do that for this wonderful picture of Bob. But now you'll see that I already have that custom metric added, so I can just go in and give that a number. So it's a little bit faster once you've already created your custom metric. And what this means is that we will automatically tally up those numbers throughout the report for you, and we'll show that as a custom metrics card. So this is one way that you can add your own data to individual clips, and we will total that up for you in the summary. The second way to do this is a lot quicker and faster. So if you just need to show a total number for your report readers, you can actually just add a custom card to this summary page. So you don't need to add a number to each individual clip. You can just figure out what you want to total and then just include it here. So if you click on Add Custom Cards, we're going to call this one Willow Mentions. Number of mentions for Willow. And I know that she's had 6 in my report. So that's a really quick and easy way that you can include just a total headline number for your report readers. And you can add as many of these cards as you like. You can also edit them, you can remove them, etc., etc. But hopefully that will showcase the 2 different ways that you can add in your own numbers to help tell more of a story through data. Now, as Laura mentioned, one of the great things about CoverageBook is that you can actually import your own content as well. So these could be custom pages, or you can actually build slides directly from inside your report as well. And we're going to cover that in a little bit more detail now. So first of all, if you click on the plus add button in the top left-hand corner, you will have the option to add slides and analysis. You will also see that you can do that in the top right-hand corner of your intro and summary section And if you're inside any of your coverage sections as well, you'll also have the option to add a full page to the beginning of each of the sections of your coverage. So you can include these anywhere within your report. So if I click on Add Slides and Analysis, and I'm going to choose Importing Slides first. So I can click here, and now I can import up to 10 files at once. And these could be a PowerPoint slide, they could be a Google Sheets, they could be any kind of image, or you can even add some animated GIFs here as well. Oh, lots of pictures of me. And we're just going to go down to Custom Slides. I've used these before in some of our previous webinars, but they're basically just 3 example slides from Canva that we've used here. So once you've got those added, you now have the option to include these slides in your intro and summary pages, or you can add them to a section of coverage within your report. But we're going to add these to the intro pages. So they'll take a few moments to come through. Hopefully my internet's working quickly today. Yeah, there we go. Okay, took a few moments. So you can import any kind of images or slides that you like. So I've just got a really basic kind of campaign overview. There's also a chart. So as Laura mentioned, if you have something like Google Trends analysis, whether that's a trend line or a bar chart or a pie graph or whatever, you could actually import that as an image and include it in your report. And you can drag and drop these slides around, not just to reorder, but you can actually move them to anywhere within the front pages of your report as well. So if you wanted to include your own page front and foremost when you share the report with others, then when you email the online link to the report, they will see your custom page first, and then it will go through all of our default pages. So that's a really nice way of including your own kind of customized pages. If you click on the 3 dots below and to the right of any of these custom slides as well, you can also move them, delete them, and you can edit them as well. So you've got full control over them once you've added them. And then the second option that you have is to create a slide using CoverageBook's slide builder features. And this is like super simple to do, but you can create some really nice looking slides doing this. So if I click on create a slide, you will see a very simple template. So I can add in, I can add in a title and then maybe some supporting text underneath. I'm just going to type just one word there. You can add or copy and paste bulleted lists in. So if you wanted to include some campaign activity or just general notes or anything, then you can add that text into your slide. And then everything is live editable. So if I click on the top left-hand corner and go to layout, we've got 6 pre-formatted layouts that you can choose from. I won't go through all of them in detail, but I'm just going to click on this one here. And I'm going to go and add a nice picture of a sunflower. And then what I can do is I can actually just change up the text and the background as well. So I'm going to choose a nice kind of orange color to match the sunflower. And then we'll add in a background image from some files. So there you go. It looks like a nice canvas on an art gallery wall. So you can really play around with the format of the slides. And once you've added your media, you can also switch between the different layouts to see how they look as well, which is really nice. And then when you're ready, you can just hit the save button and we will add that slide to your report. So this is a super quick and easy way to really customize your reports and add in your own information and just make them look really good. And you'll see that that slide's been added there. If I want to, I can just click and I can move that, for example, to my social media coverage section. So what this means is when I then share the book with others, when they get down to that section, they will see that slide front and center, and then it will dive into the actual coverage itself. So that's a a really nice thing. So as Laura mentioned as well, speaking of sections, if you don't already use sections to organize your coverage, it can be super helpful. So for example, in this particular report, I have separated out my coverage into just some general social media, and I've then got Bob's coverage and Willow's coverage. If you do separate your coverage into sections, what's really nice is that when you preview the report and go to the contents page, you can actually get a URL link just to one section of coverage. So for example, I can copy this link and then send it to one of my report readers. And when they open it, it will take them directly to the Willow's coverage. So it's a really good way of tailoring the share links for your report readers to get them to the pieces of coverage that they're actually interested in. Okay, so next up, we are going to really quickly look at templates. So as Laura mentioned, with CoverageBook, you can copy and make templates of any report. And this is especially useful if you wanted to tweak an existing report slightly differently to a different audience. Perhaps you wanted to add in some different slides, or you want to change the order of the metrics, or whatever you want to do there. And if you click on the three dots below and to the right of the book and click on copy, it will give you two options. So you can copy the report with all of the coverage in it. So you can make an exact duplicate that you can then edit separately, or you can copy as a template. And what this will do is it will remove all of the coverage, but will leave all of your metrics preferences, any sections that you've included, and also any custom slides. So if you do tend to use the same format, you won't have to keep adding slides again. You can just keep copying the report as a template as many times as you like. So that's a really good way of reusing reports for different audiences. And then finally, the CSV. You may already know this, but if you head down to the bottom left-hand menu where you've got the share options, you'll have our regular online shareable link, which is a live link to the report. You can also choose to export a PDF copy of the book, but we also include a data export. So if you click on the Generate CSV option, if you make any changes to a book, we'll just prompt you that you might want to generate a new copy to make sure it's up to date. We will email a link when the CSV is ready, but it's normally super quick and you can just download a copy. Now, this will contain everything that's inside that CoverageBook report. So all of the links, the sections, the URLs, all of the copy about the posts, everything. And in these first few sections, we will break down views, engagements, and audience. So these will be the total number for all of the pieces of coverage in your report. But if you keep scrolling along to the right, you will also find that we break down the social engagements in more detail. So you can see here that my most liked post was this second one here with 18 likes. So this is a really good way to delve deeper into the numbers if you're looking for kind of deeper analysis. And it may also help you if you wanted to create visual or graphical representations of how well your coverage has performed using these numbers. You will also see that at the end of the CSV, it will include any kind of custom metrics that you've added. So this is quite a good way to just have a look at any custom numbers that you've added, and potentially it might help you to source the number of mentions for each of the custom metrics that you've used in your report as well. So it just gives you a quick at a glance view of your custom numbers too. I think that's everything from me. I hope that was helpful. Did anybody have any questions, or would you like me to run through anything else while I'm here? Oh, you're on mute, Laura.
Hello, I'm back. Yeah, I think Will's been answering a few as we go along. Quite like how Isaac, your cat is really cute. I think Willow's cuter actually.
You did get more mentions, but I won't tell Bob that.
So a few people coming through saying it's very helpful. Thank you. So thank you very much, everybody. We are slightly over today. So what I encourage you to do, because I know how busy everybody always is, if you do have any more questions that you haven't thought of asking already, you can always email them through at support@coveragebook.com, and we'll get back to you anyway. As promised, yes, I will send a recording of this webinar and the slides over to you. And hopefully, yeah, you found that interesting. And I'd love to see your reports and how that's helped you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.